This is the start of the Displaced Views tutorials. There's a few of these in order, and keep in mind Displaced Views in Revit are actually very easy. They're pretty straightforward, although you might run into a few difficulties with your displaced elements. So just be patient with it, like all things in Revit. And what I'm going to show you here first is some of the prep work. As in all the tutorials that I do, there's a little bit of prep work that goes in before we can just create one of these views. So you need to clone one of your 3D views, or you can go to a default 3D view. But we need to make sure a couple things are checked or unchecked. So I'm going to go here to the scope box, and I'm going to turn this off, and I'm going to turn my section box off as well. We can actually hide and view this scope box as well, because we don't really need it. We do need to turn the site off, so it's kind of counterintuitive that we're turning the scope box off to turn the site off. But the scope box can affect our displaced elements, so now we need to go into the visibility graphics here using VV, and we can turn off the site, or you can turn off your imported categories. You can also turn off your Rhino file at this point, so if you still have your Rhino file in this view, then you can go ahead and turn it off. I'm just going to get rid of some of the junk in the file here, so this is what I was using to sort of demark the other buildings. But okay, now we have just like a clean building file. There's no site to it, but we actually do want to see where the building will land on the site. So what I recommend doing is going to a ground floor plan. Let's turn the site on here, and if it doesn't appear in your imports or your model categories, it's probably hidden. With anything, like, those are the sort of steps that I take. Check your visibility graphics, then check your imports, and then check your hidden elements. So here you can see that I have this site hidden. So we're going to unhide this. And now in our ground floor plan we can see our site, but we want to recreate this boundary with a floor. So I'm going to go to Architecture, Floor Architectural, and I'm going to use the Pick Line tool. And unfortunately the fillets, these corners, don't select. So I'm just going to select the main runs, and then I'm going to use this Fillet Arc tool, and I'll just choose these and choose any value, and I know that the main corner one is actually a 10-foot radius, and these inner ones are 8. Okay, and before we click check on this, let's make sure that this is a generic 12-inch and it's actually at the ground rather than being offset. And then we can hit check. We don't need to attach the floors, and if you have a basement, the process is the same. What we're going to do next is actually go and turn our site off. And now we can see that floor, but we don't want to have the floor interfere with the building, so we can edit this boundary. And we can use the Pick Line tool, and we can actually pick the perimeter of our building. And a lot of people wonder, exactly which lines they should be, picking. Like here, this is like, just choose either one. It doesn't really matter. We're not gonna, you're not gonna see that amount of accuracy. And like if you have a porch or something, you don't have to include those lines. So just go ahead and go to the perimeter, like where your foundation is a pretty good marker, unless I have some sort of mechanical elements here, which I didn't include a foundation. I'm just going to go ahead and pull the whole building out because I have a courtyard here as well. So once I have those perimeters, I'm just going to trim it up using the Trim Extend tool. A really nice tool if you're not acquainted with it. Alright, let's make sure that's all good. So now I hit check, don't attach, and you can see that what's highlighted is basically everything that's outside of our building on the lot. Now we need to do one more thing, and we need to put a property line here, and actually I need to turn my site on really quickly. And we need to clone this property line. So this is part of the site here. So what I'm going to do is go to model line, and then I'm going to change this to a center line. And the reason I'm not using a site, so the masking and site tool actually does have a property line tool with it, but this way we can turn our site off without having to deal with it. So again, I'm going to architecture model line and making sure that the model line is using the center line style. And we're just gonna, you can pick line or you can actually draw a rectangle here. And here we can just go out. And again, it's not, you know, some of these walls were adjusted so they just fill out of the property line. The property line was sort of a sort of guess anyways. Okay, so I can turn my site off one more time here. It doesn't really matter. We're done with this view. So now if I go to the 3D view, you can see a couple things here. You can see that this floor has been created. We have a property line that's also been created at the ground floor. And this is a good starting point. So there will be a couple more videos which will get into the displaced elements, and then we're going to talk about how to change some of the colors and some of the materials to what you need them to be.